welcome back to Unpacking Potato, the podcast where I, Henny, the self-proclaimed potato, unpack a variety of different topics. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about loneliness and social connection and how I fight loneliness and how I go about looking for social connection. I just moved to a new place about 6 months ago. Oh my gosh, time is flying by so fast. And I'm just kind of getting into the groove of things, of being involved in communities and meeting people and things like that. So I just wanted to share my experience. So let's get into it. So like I mentioned, I just moved to a new place, a new country, and it's been so exciting and just overall so much fun. However, I will say loneliness crept in pretty quickly. I was really lucky in the sense that I already knew a handful of people when I got here, and my now husband has a job here, so I was able to meet people that way. But I wasn't necessarily part of a larger community, and I didn't really have my own purpose of my day-to-day life when I first arrived here. I am still going through the visa process, so I can't work yet. So I was looking for volunteer opportunities, classes I could take, projects I could do, which was why I also decided to restart the podcast. And it's been so fun getting into it. But I still took my time in getting myself immersed into the community because I was overwhelmed. But like I said, the loneliness did creep in, and I know myself. I am a classic extroverted introvert. I need that social connection. I need to go out and meet people. That is what fuels me. But I also really value my alone time. So I was playing kind of this balancing game of making sure I was focusing on myself and seeing what I wanted to do to figure out kind of my next steps, while also trying to go out there and push my boundaries of my comfort levels and meet new people. Even if I say I'm an extroverted introvert, it still makes me really nervous to go into new environments. It still makes me very nervous to meet new people. But I think I've had to do it so many times that I've gotten good at faking it till I make it. I just throw myself into the deep end in these situations, and I just know I'm going to be okay. Because I've moved a lot in my life. My previous job, I moved a lot for that. And then even growing up with my family, I moved a lot because of my parents' jobs. So I'm pretty used to moving around. I'm pretty used to having to reestablish a routine, reestablish a community, and try to seek out these things. And I wanted to talk about it because I think it's really important to talk about the actual real detrimental impact it can have on you to not have a social community or not have social connection. I think it's really important to talk about it because I forget all the time, because with social media, you do feel constantly connected with people. I was talking to my friends when I was traveling all over the world. I was talking to my friends back home through social media, and I was still getting that connection with them. And even moving here, I was still talking to people through social media, but I still missed that physical being in a new space with someone and having an interaction with them face to face. That was a thing that was missing in my life. And I came here with my husband, and I have a connection with him, obviously, and that social connection there is still extremely valuable. But in order to increase my own level of independence and autonomy, I wanted to branch out and meet other people so that I could find a community on my own and I wasn't so dependent on this relationship with my partner. Nothing wrong with leaning on your partner, nothing wrong with having that be your only social connection. But for me personally, I knew that I needed to branch out and I needed to go and have my own life and social life and identity and all those things for my own mental health and just the overall longevity of my social life, because I also generally just love to connect with people and to feel like I am giving some value to the community, which is why I started my podcast. I think that it is just a thing that I do that is so fulfilling to me personally. So I was pretty eager to connect with a community and meet people and all that kind of stuff, but I just took my time doing it. So, like I said, I wanted to unpack a little bit about isolation, loneliness, and social connection. There's been a numerous amount of academic articles and books and all this research surrounding social connection and the importance of social connection. There is an article written by 3 doctors, and they talk about social connection basically like medicine. The importance of social connection in a human's physiological body and how social connection can actually improve your health by controlling blood sugars and even increasing cancer survival and decreasing depressive symptoms and all those types of things. The Canadian Mental Health Association actually says that the lack of social connection can be worse than smoking and high blood pressure. So now that we know being socially disconnected or not having that sense of connectedness is that detrimental to your health, what do we do? I actually find that reaching out to existing relationships like friends, family, that kind of thing is the easiest first step you can take to talk to someone. And it kind of connects back to my last episode on asking for help. You could just be like, hey, can you help me with this thing around the house? Or hey, how are you? Whatever that might be, just reaching out first to be like, I want to connect with you. Beyond that, for me personally, I like to look for groups I can join. So as an adult, it is a lot harder to make friends and to meet new people because when you're in school, you kind of meet people through school. You're forced to do group projects. You meet people through the thing you're doing. And it can be the same for work as well. You can meet friends through work, but you don't always jive with people at work and you don't always jive with people at school. And as an adult, it's even harder to go out and look for that chance of connection with people that you don't know yet. So there's different things you can do. I like to volunteer. So I found places that I could volunteer my time, places that I wanted to volunteer at. I actually tried like 4 different volunteer places before I landed on one that I liked. And that is my most consistent thing that I do to get out and interact with people. And I've made some really good friends through that experience. Another thing that I have done myself is to attend classes. And I not only attended classes, I created a class that people could come to for free. And it's just such a great way to spend an evening meeting other people in the community with similar interests than you. And I know a lot of this is easier said than done because trust me, I feel you. Trying something new, it is so scary. For me, I have to know all the information, and if I know someone going, that's even better. But I was doing everything on my own. It was very, very scary. But then you make one connection and they invite you along to other things and meet other people. And then the other person has a similar interest. So you go and do something with that other person. And that is how you start cultivating these connections and friendships. And I think growing a new friendship is also just very nerve-wracking sometimes, but it's really fun because you get to know another person on a deeper level. And I just find things like that to be so fun personally because I just love hearing about people's stories, people's lives, and how they've come to where they are now. And something that I wanted to talk about is how important it is to be mindful of how our role is played in that scenario. A lot of people, I think, myself included, get lonely and then they kind of get stuck in that loneliness, and then that kind of gets ingrained into our brains of oh, I'm socially awkward. No one wants to talk to me. I don't really have the skill set to go and make new relationships and new connections. And that is perfectly normal. I feel like social connection is almost a skill as well. And it's a muscle that you have to train and practice. And for me, like I said, because I've had so much practice forced upon me, it's a lot easier to go up to someone new and say, hi, what's your name? My name's Henny. Nice to meet you. What brings you here today? How are you doing? All these types of things. It's easier because that muscle has been trained, that social connection muscle, that social interaction muscle has been trained for it to be a little easier. So for those of you who are thinking to yourself, I don't like that at all. I don't want to go up and talk to people. I don't want to say hi. I don't want to get to know people. It's all too scary. Do a little reflection. Unpack where that feeling is coming from. Is it coming from a feeling of you truly don't want that? You truly don't want to get to know someone new? Or are you nervous that you might be rejected? Or you might not portray yourself in the way that you want to? Or what kind of nerves are at play, and what kind of negative self-talk is constantly going around in your brain and telling you that this isn't for you or you're not cut out for that. These are all things that we tell ourselves that may or may not be true. For some people, I understand it can be true. They do not like to talk to people. That's fine. But I still think it's so important, before you just completely dismiss the idea for good, think about what that is. Is it because you're nervous? Is it because you're scared you won't be liked back, or that you'll be awkward in a situation? Or do you think you just won't like those people? And just reflect on where that's coming from so that you have a better idea of what your likes and dislikes are, because there might be another way that you could find social connection, but it has to be catered to you and what you like. Maybe you don't like to talk to people. Maybe you don't want to hear about their lives. Maybe you don't have the space for that. Then maybe you find something that you can go do an activity with someone with. You go to a fitness class, or you go to a scuba diving class or a swim lesson or a pottery class, anything like that, where you have an activity that you're focused on, where you don't necessarily have to talk to people, but they're there and you can talk, or other people are talking and you can kind of listen on the conversation. Is totally okay to do that if that's what you want to do. Or if you're more outgoing, you're wanting to talk to people and making that connection, it's good to know that about yourself. Then you can look for activities that work with that. I'm telling you, there is something for everyone out there. There are clubs where you read books. You can read different books next to each other at a coffee shop, or you could read the same book and talk to each other. There's classes where you can go and dance. There's classes where you can go do Pilates or yoga or work out, do HIIT, whatever it might be that you want to do. There is something for everybody. But I think it is really important to do that self-discovery aspect so you know what it is you actually like, so that you really enjoy it. For example, I went and volunteered at an animal shelter, and then I volunteered at a clinic next to the animal shelter that does neutering and spaying for animals, because there is a big problem in the area. I went with the best intentions. I was going to go, I wanted to volunteer regularly, but then I went there and it just didn't fit right with me. I don't know why, I don't know what it was, but I just did not enjoy my time there. I love animals, I love dogs, but for some reason, being there just didn't bring me the same kind of joy and fulfillment that I was looking for. The people there were amazing, everyone was really nice, and everyone was really trying to help the community with their mission of helping the animals in need, but it wasn't about that. It wasn't that I didn't jive with the people. The people were all amazing. It wasn't that I didn't agree with what they were doing. I think what they're doing is amazing. It just didn't fit with me. Another thing I think it's important to remember is when you go out to volunteer, where you go out to try things, you can just go to try it out. You can change your mind. You can say, I'm just trying this out. I'm not sure if I'll like it. I'll see how it is. Or you can go with the best of intentions and say, I really want to do this regularly. Like, I want to learn all the skills and whatever. And unfortunately, you might not like it. And that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I think for me, it was all or nothing. And I think I just grew up that way, where if you try something, you have to give it 100% your all and you have to commit, and it's everything. That's just not the case. You're allowed to change your mind with what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And if you end up going to something and feeling like you're stuck there because you feel some obligation, you're not going to enjoy it anymore, and you're not going to get that same fulfillment, and you're probably not going to give it as much effort or as much heart as you normally would have, because you don't want to be there. I am such a big believer of changing your mind. I think it is perfectly fine to change your mind. Eventually, I'm going to find something that I really enjoy, and I have. I finally found something that I enjoy going to volunteer. I enjoy going and doing these things and spending my time, even if it makes me no money or doesn't bring me any kind of benefit other than the fact that I'm getting the social connection that I want, and I'm giving back, and I'm providing value, and I'm feeling fulfillment that way. And some people may disagree with me. Some people may say that you need to volunteer and you need to give it your all no matter what. But for me, what works best for me, I like to be able to give myself the freedom to change my mind, or else I will not do it. I won't even try, because I'm like, what if I hate it and I can't get out? And that fear of being unable to get out prevents me from even trying. And what if that prevention, that wall, that block of me even trying to do it actually blocks me from doing something that I really love? The place that I'm at now, I didn't start it. What if I didn't start it because I didn't think I'd like it, or I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, so I just didn't even start it at all? No, I tried it. I didn't like it, changed my mind. I tried it, I loved it, and now I'm there, I don't know, probably 12 hours a week or 20 hours a week or whatever it is. I'm there a lot and I enjoy being there. And I think reminding yourself that you have the ability to change your mind is actually a great way to break out of your comfort zone and try something new, because you know that you don't have to stick to it. You don't have to stay. You don't have to do anything. Going out to try to get that social connection, meet new people, be part of a community, all these things, it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of active effort. When we are trying to make connections with people, we actually have to try to connect with that person. And I think it's important that we are in a space where that's possible, because sometimes we go through seasons in life where that might not be feasible and all your attention has to be on you to try to help you and to try to focus on your well-being. I say this because I've been there. I've been in a place where I really couldn't give myself to anyone else. I didn't have the space to take anyone else's stuff in. And that was when I was really burnt out. I had compassion fatigue, and I was in a place where I really just couldn't even fathom doing anything. Kind of thankfully, that was during the height of COVID, so we weren't really supposed to be going out and hanging out with people anyway, so I just didn't. I was just home all the time after work, vegging out, doing absolutely nothing, eating, sleeping, getting up, driving to work, doing it all over again every single day. And I think it's important to remind yourself to give that grace when that is the season of life that you're in, and do some self-reflecting on where your levels are at, where's your social battery at, and what does the space look like for you to be able to go out and do that. Because even if there's a little space, it's totally worth it to go out to that class or that volunteer thing or whatever it might be that works for you in your current situation. Dr. Hollowell published a book in 1999 called Connect. In that book, he talks about the importance of connection and how to find connection. He defines connection as feeling a part of something larger than yourself, feeling close to another person or group, feeling welcomed, understood. There are many examples of connections. A 5-minute conversation can make all the difference in the world if parties participate actively. To make it work, you have to set aside what you're doing, put down the memo you are reading, disengage from your laptop, abandon your daydream, and bring your attention to bear upon the person you are with. Usually, when you do this, the other person or people will feel the energy and respond in kind naturally. I think this is so crucial. You have to put down what you're doing. Put down your phone, put down your memo, your book, your whatever it is you're doing. Look up from your laptop and open yourself to that connection. It has to be an active effort of opening yourself to talk to that person and to really pay attention to them and to actively engage in the conversation. Like I said before, I think sometimes when you are lonely for so long, you've been isolated due to something out of your control, like COVID, for example, or you're lonely because you've been so busy and haven't had the time to put into going out and cultivating new relationships, meeting new people, all of the above, we get kind of stuck in this rut and it's hard to be pulled out of. And sometimes we may desperately wish that someone will pull us out of it. And sometimes someone will, and sometimes someone won't. Because everyone is focused on their own lives, because everyone is going through something. Life is hard, and especially hard when a whole world goes through a collective trauma together. Everyone is focused on their own lives, and they don't have it in them, the space in them to be looking out and checking in on everybody. So like I said in the last episode of asking for help, this is where asking for help comes in. You reach out to a friend, you reach out to an acquaintance that you just met and say, hey, I just got here. I don't really do much around the house, or I'm kind of lonely, or I just want to meet new people. Is there something that you're doing later that I could come with? Or do you want to go for a coffee? Would you like to go for lunch? We have to be the ones to reach out. And sometimes someone amazing will come in your life where they reach out to you first. They notice because you say something along the lines of, I'm home all day, I don't do much. And they notice and they say, hey, I know what it's like to do that. And they reach out a helping hand to you. And that is such a blessing. something, but that doesn't always happen. And sometimes you need to be the one to first reach out and to let it be known, even making a small comment like, I don't do much. I don't do much all day. I'm kind of just hanging out. If you're doing something cool, let me know. Like, even just a comment like that opens up the door to be like, hey, let's do something. And it's not always going to be met with an invitation. It's not always guaranteed to start a friendship, but it's something. It's something. The amount of times I've made that joke, that comment of like, I just got here. I don't know many people. I don't do much when I'm like talking to random people or something. If they ask like, what do you do all day? Or what do you do? Are you working? Anything like that. I'm like, no, I just kind of hang out. I work on my projects. Like, I'm not doing much. I've said that to a few people, and probably like the sixth person I said it to said, oh, well, I like to hike. I like to do this. Do you want to do that? And I say, yeah. And then I join them on that thing and we hang out and we become friends. And that's just like how you make friends as an adult. I think my point of that is just saying you have to be open to it. I had to be open to it. I had to be accepting and welcoming of that invitation, and I had to want it. I had to really be ready for it, and I had to be in a space where I had the space to really make a real connection and not just like go for the sake of going. So I think in all of this, if you were to take anything away from this, I want you to take away the fact that social isolation and feeling lonely is so real. And it is such an important aspect of our life. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it is literally the third thing. It goes like physical, basic needs of like hunger, that type of thing, and then the feeling of safety, and then it's social connection. That is like the third most important thing that we need in our day-to-day lives. So if you are feeling lonely, if you are feeling isolated, just give yourself a little bit of love and understanding of like, it's normal to feel depressed. It's normal to feel down when you are lacking in that connection in a space where you want connection. Maybe you moved somewhere new. Maybe you haven't moved somewhere new and everyone else moved away. Whatever your situation might be, it's valid. That's all I want to get across, is that that feeling is so valid, and the difficulties that come along with that are so valid, and the distraught you might feel is so valid. It's literally scientifically proven that we need social connection to survive and to thrive. So I just want to validate anyone who is feeling loneliness or who is feeling any kind of disconnect from their community. And I want to encourage you to do some self-reflection on what you might want to do, what you like to do, what kind of people do you want to meet, what kind of activities do you enjoy. Give yourself that grace and understanding and self-compassion to prioritize yourself, to give yourself some of that energy and prioritize yourself in a way where you actually think and sit, because it takes effort to reflect and unpack and think of ideas and brainstorm and all these types of things. It takes effort. It takes energy. It takes active energy and effort to go out and get that. And I think you deserve it. I think everyone deserves that, to give that to themselves. So I want to validate those emotions and to encourage you to actively put effort into that part of your life if you are feeling that way. If any of this resonates with you, you are deserving of the kindness and self-compassion to allocate some of your energy and prioritize yourself to sit and think and self-reflect about what is it that I want to do? What kind of things do I like to do? Who do I want to meet? What kind of people? What kind of community am I looking for? All these types of things. Brainstorm these ideas, because it takes active effort to even brainstorm things, and look for things that you can go and be a part of, and push yourself to go beyond the boundaries of your comfort to try to grow and try to meet people and try to connect in some way. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining me. As usual, if you are here during the day, I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you're joining me in the evening, I hope you have a restful night of sleep, and I will catch you next time.